Welcome to the Movers Resource Guide podcast, connecting you to the resources you need to create success. We chat with the best vendors, associations, mentors, movers, and more, giving you the information you need to make your moving company the best it can be. I'm your host, Brian Hassan, CEO of Wayfinder Moving Services in Buffalo, New York, Apex Moving and Storage in Lakewood, Washington, and president of the New York State Movers Association. Today, our guest is Mark Sextro, Director of Business Development for Moving Leads by First Movers Advantage. Moving Leads provides a direct mail postcard service for homeowners who are in the home selling process, which is obviously our future customer. I had a great conversation with Mark and direct mail and how it works and some things we can do to do it the right way so that we can have a maximum ROI for our spend in our direct mail campaigns. Mark's a great guy. We had a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy this conversation. All right. Well, thanks for being with us, Mark, on the Movers Resource Guide podcast. I'm glad you could join us. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So cool. So, we kind of went over your bio and everything already, so people know who you are. You've been a partner of ours for a really long time, and I know Absolutely. That you're very well known in the moving industry as a reliable source for postcard advertising and or marketing, I guess, maybe not advertising. Yes. So we're hoping to bring you on and have you give us some tips and tricks on how to make this work and let us know about that. So I guess I'll let you lead us off here with your first thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, just thank you again for having me on. It's like you said, we've been a partner with your team for a long time, and we have been assisting movers. This is our 20th year in business year, and so I'm excited.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I'm excited to be on here just to kind of share the importance and really the power that direct mail marketing can have for movers. One of the questions that I get asked more than anything when I'm, connecting with, mover owners or, moving consultants is, does direct mail really work? We are it's 2023, right? We're in like a super digital space. Like, I barely even go to the grocery store anymore. Everything's delivered. It's all online. But I think really that really allows us to unequivocally answer that question with, like, you can't see me, but I'm, yes, it does work. And the reason being is it's just a proven way to win business. We've surveyed our customers, in the past, and for every, 100 mailers that they're sending out or 100 people that they're reaching they're bringing back, between 1 and 3, phone calls, website inquiries. And when you're looking at a marketing campaign, that's pretty high. When you're comparing it to like a digital one, that's, 0.1%, something like that, as far as a conversion rate, it really brings it to kind of the highest in the industry. And I think that's because of the way that it's kind of an unobtrusive ask for that business. And I'll kind of talk about that kind of messaging here in a little bit, but I think it's just really kind of comforting to say, oh, well, I got something in the mail. It's got my name on it.
What
is this?
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because when I lived in a smaller market, we really didn't get much direct mail. And if it was from somebody nationally. And now that not that Buffalo is a big market, right? But, now that we're here, we do see that quite a bit more. And sometimes it's actually like, man, I actually needed that. I'm glad this showed up. Now I know who to call.
Right. And we're seeing, because the people that are really strategic with their marketing are the people that are doing, direct mail. And they're also not only just utilizing it as a way to reach those customers, but they're also training their staff. And because they've got that great staff on hand, of those, 1 to 3 people that are reaching out, per 100, people that they're connecting with, they're able to get a job from that, on average, at least one. Yeah. And when you're looking at that, a dollar maybe that you're invested in for a card, and you could get we've had people that have gotten $17,000 jobs, off of a postcard.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
they're really able to take that information, send it to people that they really want to convert, and then have a great return on investment when it comes to, a dollar per, person that they're reaching. And you can get what's an average move job, a few $1,000s, for that one card there. So
Depending on the market and what your niche is. Yeah, correct.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it really is a great way to fill your calendar.
And I think that's too where, you look and you say, wait, a 1 to 3% return. Well, why do I want to waste my time with that? And it's like, but if you look over, like you said, 100 postcards, but when they're $1, what a piece, I can't remember now, but
yeah,
$1, $20, $30 a piece, if you can get 3 customers for $100, $120, if on a low side, right? And they should be highly qualified leads for the ones you're getting in and the people that do call you from that. But if you book 1 to 3 jobs from that, that are good bookings, it's really not a high price to pay.
Right. And it really does help to fill your calendar, not only with just filling it with jobs, but really good high quality jobs, because you have the ability, especially through us, to kind of hone in on the person or the people that you're wanting to convert, to get kind of those higher ticket prices, to make sure that, you're not just booking, the person that wants a couch moved, or the refrigerator put on a truck and moved. You want that full enchilada there that's going to really, drive up your bottom line.
Yes. Those, I think a lot of movers tend to do some of those smaller things. But a lot of us also have gotten to the point where it's like, we schedule our day in half day blocks, typically for us. And so, somebody wants you to move a couch or a chair somewhere, and you're like, we have depending on the time of year, somewhere between a 2 and a 4 hour minimum. And it's like, I in good conscience, I'm like, I can't charge you that. It just doesn't make any sense. So
you just go buy a new couch, it'll be cheaper.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely people out there that do that, and that's great because it's a needed service. But the way we're structured, it's not, we want to, like you said, book that, 5 guys, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 move.
And it really is something that it's direct mail and postcard marketing. I'm not coming on here saying this is the only thing that you need to be doing, is direct, postcard marketing. It really is important to have direct mail marketing in the mix of what you're doing. Whether it's, digital advertising, also internet leads, your website, SEO. And it really kind of comes back down to having that kind of healthy mix of, marketing campaigns, because every consumer is going to take a different path and uses those different resources to find a mover. And so if you can have access to target each of those behaviors, why wouldn't you? Because then, if, me personally, I am a sucker for like social media ads. That's what gets me. That's what starts my journey. But you could be someone who, is, really on top of your email, or, someone who really likes direct mail. And so the more that those people are seeing, obviously, in that kind of omni-channel approach, it is really going to make sure that they can kind of solidify your moving company is who they want to at least have a conversation with. Because once we get them to you, that's when you can work your magic and really kind of shift them over and make the change and, convert them there.
Yeah. And maybe speak too about having all of those other channels set up well. Because when somebody does get a postcard, that might be a first like lead indicator for them. Right. But for instance, my wife may say, okay, cool. Well, let me go check them out now.
Right. And that's one of the great things that I can, dive into a little bit here as well, is just the fact that, you're getting that postcard, the timing is everything. And you're getting it when you're like, okay, I've just listed my house for sale. I know I'm going to need a mover, and it kind of
Yeah.
goes on the refrigerator or even like on the desk, sitting by your computer. And even though you might not be looking at that, postcard as an advertisement or a marketing piece, you're saying, okay, this, this moving company, let me pull them up online. So then that leads them to Google you. That's where they get your information. And so it can, in that respect, it can be a little bit tricky to, track, that
Correct.
journey. But, at Moving Leads, we do have ways around that where
Yeah.
we can offer, specific ways to kind of track those responses as far as, inputting the consumer's information, and you can match it back to say, okay, those, even though that person came in as a web lead, for example, they received a postcard, and it kind of matches that back. And so that's just something in that, in the mix of all those campaigns that you're doing, the digital and the, direct mail, that you're able to kind of track that journey there.
Right. Right. And something else I want to plug in, well, hey, they're going to post that on the refrigerator. So, and you talked about timing is important. You know, as movers, we're busy too. And, I don't really have time to consistently sit down and send these out every day.
Mhm.
So what's your ideal process in that situation? Like, what do you, with these leads, how often should they be sent out? How
So
should that process go?
So the way that we're collecting the data is every day we are pulling properties that are listed for sale, and we have different campaigns that we can offer where we can provide the data, to you, or we can actually process fulfillment and do mailers. And when we're doing the mailing on our end, we are mailing daily, Monday through Friday. So, for example, today, any properties that were listed today in your area when you, for you and your campaign that we have, we're mailing a postcard to first thing tomorrow morning, so that we're getting that information there. Now, that's something that we do, and timing is super important. So daily mailing is key, just to ensure that those people that have your information before they really start to kind of go through that, mover research, and it kind of allows a campaign like this to really be a proactive approach and kind of plant a seed. Um, the
Right.
the the best thing about this type of campaign, and really the powerful message for direct mail marketing, is it's marketing to the right lead, it's marketing at the right time, and you have the ability to put in front of them the right message, and that's super super important there. And that's why we like that daily mailer.
Right. Yeah. And I think when we started this, we were doing this on our own, right? We were
Mhm.
harvesting the leads on our own and doing all this
Right.
stuff. But which was working for us, but we weren't doing it consistently. And as we got busier over time, it's just like, oh my gosh, I just don't have time to do this every day.
Right.
And even if we, I think you have the service too, where, you can get the leads from you without you
Right.
doing the
Right.
postcards yourselves, and
And
which is great. But I'm
no,
like, I don't
no,
have time to do that.
absolutely. But
You know,
even with, even though daily mailing is great, even if you are, because we do also provide just the data itself. If you are doing something that's in house, even just making sure that you're sending out at least once a week. That I think, as long as you're doing it on a weekly basis, and you're being cognizant of that timing, it
Mhm.
I think it will really, benefit you. Because I do talk to a lot of people who, they're coming to us because they're doing some version of direct mail, but what they're doing is they have, maybe an office administrator that's going through Zillow, or, going through all, and trying to find the properties that were listed, and it takes, hours every day or hours every week to, pull that data together, and then, get the mailers. And
Yeah.
that's one problem that we can solve. If you have that office administrator who is able to, do those, on a daily basis or a weekly basis, then let us provide the data. Because what we're doing is we're filtering through, we're finding those leads, but we're not just sending you everything that's available. We're going through and making sure that what we're providing as far as the quote unquote right lead and who they are, they're homeowners, they,
Yeah.
depending on your campaign, they have a large household and they have a need to, find a mover. And I think that that's super important as far as the reach, is because I know a lot of people would say, well, I can just, like I mentioned before, I can just go online. I can, because we're pulling all of our information from public data. So
Correct.
it's there, it's right in
Yeah.
front of you. But what we're doing is we are taking all of kind of the raw listings that are coming in, and we're filtering them down to people that you actually have the ability to convert to a booked job,
Right. And I setting different parameters around that,
right,
listing
right, like,
price, and
yeah, and we can do that, and again, that is a part of the right lead, as far as if you are someone who has you can do like the piano moves and things like that, and you probably are more of a luxury moving company. You can set those parameters, whereas if you're just kind of getting everything set up, you can help everybody. You can still make sure that you are targeting, again, like we were talking about earlier, those homes that have maybe more stuff, so you can put in that minimum listing price. But then again, what we're doing on our end is making sure that we're able to either provide a lead or mail a postcard to a person who actually has a property listed for sale. They're in an area that you would like to convert, but they're also occupying the residence. Because what we're doing before we're sending the lead or a postcard is we're matching everybody to post office data to make sure that they haven't filed a change of address form or anything like that. So they're still occupying the residence, of course, to the best of our knowledge.
No, and I think that the expectation with this has to be that, hey, people are moving actively throughout this process, so they might be there when you harvest your data, but even 2 days later, they could be gone or have done that forwarding or whatever by that point. I think that if people expect that nothing ever gets returned to them, that's probably an unrealistic expectation. As long as you're getting the results and your conversions, right, then it doesn't really matter what else happens. Okay, so we're about halfway through our time that we have with you, so I kind of want to take a moment here to say, okay, we have our crazy stories in the moving industry. I'm sure you have one. Give us a chance to break away from the work for a minute and laugh at our industry a little bit. So what do you have for us?
Yeah, well, being on the vendor side, my stories pale probably in comparison to what you have seen over the years, doing what you do. But and actually, a funny story that we have here to do with a postcard design. So many years ago, we had a customer who was doing a design, and they wanted to do something really kind of fun, and they kind of thought that this would be something that would kind of stick out in homeowners' minds. So he decided on the front of the postcard to have a cow, just a picture of a cow, and the tagline on the front would just be moving. And so we looked at that and we had a conversation with him, and we ended up putting it into production. He's like, this will be great. People will look at it, and it'll make them laugh. And
which I like that sentiment, right? Like, let's make people laugh. We do it in our advertising. Yeah.
I mean, and you have to, it's, like I said earlier, it's 2023. We need a good laugh, but he was kind of going over some things there and was looking at the performance of the card, and it was not good. And we had to kind of sit him down and say, hey, I know you love this card, but if you take everything away, does this say moving? I mean, it's a cow. Like, is it milk? Is it, is this like a farmers association? Like, So we ended up the image, to a classic, standard image of a truck in front of a house. His conversions went up right away. And so it's, you can have those little things, those little kind of funny things, but it was just so interesting that we're like, that is funny, but
it still has to convert at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. There's, and sometimes we try these things in our advertising where it's like, hey, we want to try to be different, and sometimes it's success and sometimes it crashes and burns, right?
It can, but I was thinking, it's like, that's probably, and like I said, you guys have such great stories that you can laugh about now, but that's kind of, in our industry, we are fortunate to get to have our customers be you guys as, moving company owners or moving consultants. And you guys are all great. I love this industry.
it's really, it's a very unique industry. It's a pretty close-knit industry. Tons of just amazing people. You are correct about that. I agree with you there.
So we don't get like the, someone was yelling and screaming at me for 45 minutes.
We get that.
We don't have our whole livelihood on the line there. So I'll just pass the buck on to you there.
Well, okay. So your funny story kind of ties us into, you talked about some design elements there. So what tips can you give people in designing their postcard so that it gives them the most ROI, the most return, the most effective use of the space they have on that card?
So that was a great segue. Couldn't have been better. To talk about, the messaging, it's so important to be as concise and clear as possible. And what I always tell people, because it can be a little bit daunting, especially if you don't have any marketing materials that you've already kind of created, or you've never, done a postcard. The best advice that I can provide is the more simple the postcard design is, the more effective it's going to be.
Okay.
In our years of doing this, our highest performing or highest converting postcard design has been a picture of a truck in front of a house. You'll have your moving company logo on there. You'll have your contact information on the front. And then on the back, it's some bullet points for your services and, maybe how long you've been in business, if you, offer, a free estimate, something like that, your contact information. That is really all that it needs to be. A lot of times people will think I've got to, have 50 different images of, satisfied customers, or I need, to have all these different things. And although they're all great to have, like on a website or, something like that, this is something that you really need to grab their attention right when they're looking at it. And what we said before about the cow is, if you're looking at that and you take away all the text, do you know what's being marketed to you? And when you're seeing, a picture of a moving truck, there's a house behind it. Even like if you have a mover with a hand truck going into, into the back of a truck, something like that, you can look at that and you say, this is a moving company. And because we are getting those postcards to them at the right time, we can make sure that they're looking at that saying, I gotta get this, I gotta save this. Let me put it on the fridge, and so that's what's really important about the design. And we have design rubrics that we've created that you can really, even if you have a postcard, if you're coming to me and you have a postcard design, and especially if you've listened to this podcast, you're like, well, I don't know, is mine in the category of like the cow mooing, or is it the higher converter one? We've got stuff that we can, we've kind of cultivated that can say, here's what you need in order to have a successful postcard to make sure you're converting and have a successful campaign there.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned too, the free quotes, which is kind of like a, hey, this is a free offer, let's do this. I'm in a regulated state where I can't offer discounts or money off the move or anything like that. But not everybody listening is in that same situation. So it's not something that I can experiment with or have
Right.
experience with. So let me ask the question, do you find that your conversions are better with a free offer, whether that be a discount off the move, certain amount of money, a percentage, or some sort of free offer?
Um, what we find works best as far as an offer is because we we would never go to you and say, hey, um, you should, in order for you to have that competitive advantage, you need, at least $100 off, or something, 10% off your move. We would recommend doing something that's uh, not going to pull away from your budget, like a free estimate, or maybe free boxes, something like that. Something that kind of is a no obligation um, factor when it comes to the homeowner, where they can say, oh, well, if I can get a free estimate, I don't have to use that as a service, but it kind of gets them in the door. So we do recommend that if you are able to. But I don't really recommend doing any type of big dollar amounts or things like that, because you are paying for the lead and you want to have that higher ticket price. And if you're chipping away, it kind of sets that expectation, like, oh, I'm already getting a discount. What can I get more? That
Right,
type of thing.
right.
And so if it's something like a small thing like an estimate or boxes, even something that's a little bit less on you, then I think that really works, rather than getting like $200 off your move or something like that.
No, and I love that mindset. I think movers sometimes tend to sell ourselves short in how great we are and the service that we
Exactly.
provide. And we should be sticking to our rates and being proud of it and being proud of the service we provide.
Right.
Um, and I don't like to compete on, get into that discounting war, because
Right.
it's not to be honest, the customer ends up losing too, because they're getting
Right.
less quality service. So
Right.
I like that. And if you're saying you don't suggest it, that means that you're not really seeing any big differentiating factor by doing so. So we're
Right.
basically just leaving money on the table, right?
Right. Right. Because
Um,
they're going to come back to you probably in the end. If you stick to your ground, they're going to go to someone that's cheaper, and then they're going to come back to you with their sob story, because they didn't get that
correct.
quality service that you would have provided if they would have just listened.
Yeah, and I could write a book with those sob
I'm
stories at this point.
I'm so sure. I'm so sure,
So,
man.
um, all right, cool, Mark. So we only have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to make sure people know before we sign out here?
You know what, Brian? I think if people have tuned out my voice this entire time, if there's nothing else that you take from this, is um, doing direct mail is going to be beneficial for you as a mover, just because it's that proactive approach. It's a seed planter. It gets your information there, and it allows it to grow from a postcard to a conversation to a move.
Yeah,
And a lot of times, because with digital marketing, like I said, it's all great to have, but you're seeing that maybe for 30 seconds, or you can delete an email that comes in, or a phone message, but that postcard is tangible, and
yeah.
it really does work, and they're really holding on to it. And so if you don't listen to anything else, just make sure you start a campaign, you call me, so that we can make sure that before a customer in your area, or a lead, starts to think about a mover, that they already have your information, and then they can call you. So that's my 2 cents.
Excellent, excellent. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. We agree with you. Our companies, our friends that we've worked with and know that have used, direct mail. We know it's a very positive thing, something that most movers should be using. And Mark, you're awesome. We love working
Thank
with
you.
you. We really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
First movers advantage, moving leads by first movers advantage.
Yes.
You guys have been awesome to work with. You're really responsive. So we just really appreciate you being part of our industry. Appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation here today. Just want to thank you for that.
Well, and I appreciate that, and thank you so much. We really value, like you were saying earlier, there's great people in the industry, and it really is a value add to us that we can not only provide a service, but we can also kind of create this community that we are lucky to be a part of. Obviously, you are in it and your team there. So,
Yeah.
thank you for thanking me, but also it's great to be on here, and I appreciate you thinking about us, and hopefully we can kind of spread some awareness on kind of the importance of direct mail marketing and go from there.
No, I think you've done a great job with that. So we appreciate you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for listening to that. We really are thankful to Mark for joining us on the show here. If you have any questions for Mark, want to reach out, you can email Mark at mark.sextro, SEXTRO, at fmadata.com. You can also reach out to them at customer.service@fmadata.com. I hope you found that conversation worthwhile. We really thank you for listening. Appreciate you being here. If you have any comments or suggestions for us, please email us at moversresourceguide@gmail.com. Once again, this is Brian Hassan. Thank you for listening. Now get moving.